Alright, Jamie's just cut out a monster section of the wall here so that we can expose this bulkhead. So we'll try and rip it out. Check this out.
Okay.
There we go. There it is. We have exposed the main bulkhead all around it. This is what stops the boat from bending. So this is bowed, so we want to reinforce this. It's cracked up there, so we want to reinforce all of this, and then all down here. You right back there? Yeah. That is a weak area, and there's a hole going through it for that conduit to get through. Look how much this bulkhead has moved, guys. That's our crack there. Remember, we drew a straight line across here, so it's come up 25 millimeters, like maybe more, and open this crack up. So this is definitely the weak point of the entire boat right here, guys. So we're going to cut this off soon, all the way down. But we're going to put new pieces of ply, and we're thinking about running the ply all the way up to the top. The other part that we really want to address is here. This again is all that's stopping this hull from going like that. Is this fiberglass beam that they've put in. They've sent us the drawings. That is 19 layers, but it's polyester resin, and it, to be honest, it's not, you know, there's gaps under there. This is quite a good example of where tapping the glass is a good way to see if it's disbonded or not. See, it looks fine to the eye there. Looks like it's still tabbed in there, but when you get the old hammer, give it a tap, you can hear that it's bouncing. It's not attached to the deck anymore. You want to hear something like that, but you hear it. So that's just doing absolutely nothing. The demolition continues. We're in the starboard aft cabin, and we found a crack in the tabbing to the front of the engine room bulkhead. As expected, because this thing's flexed so much, it was obvious it was going to be cracked somewhere, and it's in this corner here. So we've had to demolish this little cupboard here, make a big cut through the wall, and just trying to get it out, but it's screwed in from the other side, so you can't get the screws out. So we're gonna have to keep cutting shit away. Yeah. Look, it was checked in there and screwed, and the screw is up against the bulkhead, so there's no fucking way to get it out. Alright guys, look at this crackage. All down there, down here, and this is a very weak point. This is the bulkhead here, and there's a conduit going right there on this corner, which takes a lot of force from the hull stopping doing what it did. And then down there, it looks like a little bit of delamination happening there as well. So again, we're going to cut all of this out, epoxy out to here. This is the grey bonding paste. As usual, doesn't stick to the wood, but it sticks to the glass good, but it doesn't stick to the wood. Ay. So we're in the starboard forward cabin now. Got to get to this bulkhead, so have to take this closet out. Of course it's screwed and glued. From all different screwed and all different angles, so we've got to do some light manipulation to get it out. We're out. It looks like it's looks like it's a little bit bowed. David Bowie.
solid as.
Alright guys, so we originally made this cut down this wall here just to get access to the bulkhead where it's cracked, but we've realized that we need to sort of climb in here and do a little bit more glass work. So unfortunately we have to cut this wall further back, so we're going to cut it down this line here. So this wall is locked in here, top and bottom. So unfortunately we have to make some cuts, and we'll have to put some backing plates and screw it back together that way. We're just a little bit too fat to fit in this gap here. So let's go. Meanwhile, Jamie's almost about to cut this whole little cupboard situation out. But it isn't exactly clear. Woo! There we go, boys and girls. Now we can reinforce this. We've got the same thing happening on this side. We thought we could just get away with repairing down here, but we actually want to put a piece of reinforcement the whole way up. So we're gonna have to make another cut up here. Right now it just feels like it never ends. We just have to keep wrecking the boat more, basically, to be able to fix the boat. Quite ironic. But getting this all back together is going to be a big job.
I'll be sick that week. There we go. Right in.
Another one down.
There we go, guys, got full access to this corner. We're thinking about putting a new plywood bulkhead sandwich structure all the way along, right down, and then we've got access in here to do the same. Not sure how far back we'll go, but we want to reinforce all of this. So now we have good access.
Is that the way the washing machines need to go?
Woo! Okay, there we go. We finally got this whole wardrobe thing out. Cupboard, closet, whatever. Fuck. So now we have access to this whole bulkhead, so we can really reinforce this. Also found a little crack in this corner, which is fine because we're going to just reinforce all of this anyway. So we need to cut this floor frame out so that we can access this and do the repairs there. So that's the next step. There you go, guys. This is clearly a weak point. It's got a hole for the conduit to come through, and we're only dealing with this much of a distance. I'm just fucking going for it. You getting this?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I think we've made a cut around the whole perimeter of this piece. Wow. Look at that. Here it is. Oh.
Ah.
Guess that bit's coming out. go. Soaking wet.
It's not even connected to the hole.
No, never was. So we're just carrying on in the
He's fallen in love. He fucking.
We're gonna keep doing a bit more today. Cut back further. We're talking with Lagoon. They're sending a couple of suggestions of how to fix these sort of things. This is a super weak spot here, guys. I think I just found the reason that this is all wet. It rained really heavy last night, and there's water pooled on this little stringer here. So it was obviously running down. This is under the floor, and ending up exactly where this corner is and rotting it out. So we'll have to see, check the hull to deck joint up there somewhere and see where this water's coming from. But yeah, she's wet. That's why just this section here was so rotten. Alright guys, we found that the plywood bulkhead here is rotten. Where this water leak was, all the way to where I just made that cut. So I'm going to make another cut further back, cut down, and we'll see what the condition of the plywood is there. But this definitely has to be replaced. We also want to have access from the other side to this bulkhead, so we're going to pull this whole tank out. So Jamie's taken the hoses off already, taken the bracket off, and we've emptied the water tank, so this should come out. It's gonna be fun trying to get that on after the tank's back in. So now we have access to this. So we'll have to make a cut here and up there and just take this whole piece out and replace it. So we're just using like the Dremel and the multi-tool because they don't produce that much dust. We've got a vacuum as well, so we're basically making no dust. Just with this kind of work that we can do without having to get the big grinder out. So to prep all of this to glass, we're gonna have to grind, and grinding inside the boat is the worst. It gets everywhere. Like even if we close this door, we'll have to put plastic up there so it doesn't go all through the salon. It just somehow manages to find a way into every orifice of this boat. So I'm still trying to sleep in my cabin, which is right there. Jamie's in the other side. So we're just trying to keep the dust down to a minimum. Some of you may be looking at what we're doing right now, thinking it is absolute madness. And you're probably right. Some of you may also be wondering, why aren't these guys losing their absolute minds right now?
You're right.
And that's a fair call, but you may notice that we've just continued to keep the spirits up. And that's because when you're passionate about something and you've got this goal in mind, which for us is to take this boat around the world, it gives you the motivation to get through it. So, you know, this is pretty shocking what we're going through right now, but if you just keep that positive mindset, keep that that goal in mind, you can pretty much achieve anything, I believe. So we're fine. Don't feel sorry for us. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. It's just another little bump in the road, and I reckon in 2 months' time we'll be ready to set sail out of Linton Bay. So we'll see if we can make that happen or not. So when I say 2 months, it normally ends up being 4. So don't get involved with the boat project if you're not prepared to do the hard yards. That's all from me. Wow. There we go. So we want to replace that whole piece. Now we've got quite a lot of prep work to do. Before we put our new plywood in here, we're just going to grind back all of this existing tabbing, get this edge off it, make it all nice and flat and clean, and then glue the new piece of plywood in, put little fillets on the corners, and then tab it in and glass the faces of it all. And this time we're going to actually glass the exposed edges on it as well, so it's completely sealed. Alright guys, so the port forward cabin, the main mast bulkhead, we've done all the prep we can do with just Dremels and multi-tools. So the next step is to get in there with proper grinders and make an absolute mess of the place. So we're just holding off on that for now, and we're now in the starboard forward cabin, and we've got exactly the same thing happening here. So I probably won't film everything, I might do a couple of time lapses or something, but we won't bore you with doing exactly the same thing. But we're just going to take apart this sandwich structure so that we can inspect the bulkhead here. There we go guys, just took the forward ply off, and it's damp behind it. So we've got a bloody water leak somewhere that's getting up high though. So we'll have to replace all of that plywood. Yeah, I was holding.
Should I keep going with it?
Yeah. We've just figured out what the problem was. Started here. So these U-brackets for the trampoline, they go through the hull to deck join, and water's been getting in behind. See, they're kind of loose. Water's been getting in behind there and ending up going through this joint here. And as the water comes down, it runs into this locker and it pulls on the bottom of the locker. This is underneath. We've got dive tanks and ropes and all sorts of shit in here, so we never really get to see the bottom of it, but the water's just been sitting there. And then there's nowhere for this water to drain. There's no drain in these lockers. So it's found a way through the crack between the plywood and the hull, and it's worked its way behind, underneath this ply and behind this wall. And then from the inside of the locker here, the water worked its way down into the corner underneath this fiberglass and rotted out all of this plywood. So everything from here down was completely rotten. So the water worked its way from the bracket, between the hull to deck joints, down into the locker, down underneath the locker floor, into the back corner here. From this back corner worked its way behind the fiberglass, and it rotted out this entire section. So now I'm gonna cut the floor up of this locker. See what's going under there. I think there's going to be rotten plywood and shit all through there. There's no way for this locker to drain. So the water sits there. It worked its way between the plywood and the glue. It fucked up the bulkhead. Oh. Wow, look at that. Oh. Black rotten ply. When you're trying to get it out, it's so hard. But when it's meant to hold a bulkhead, it just cracks. Oh, straight the guts. Oh, fuck. Oh.
Got that. So I reckon you should wear gloves.
Oh.
Don't you read the comments, mate?
Safety Steve's here. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yeah, baby! There we go, guys. All the water ends up underneath this black, rotten bit of ply into that corner and just permeating its way through the bulkhead here. Oh, nightmare. My head is pounding. Need some agua. Let's go. Don't know what the fuck that is.